Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we're looking at the track Waiting on the Sky to Change by Starset featuring Breaking Benjamin. One of the most interesting things about this track is that it is actually not a new song. This song actually featured on the previous band that Dustin Bates was the lead singer of in the form of Downplay. It did actually feature on their 2011 album Beyond the Machine. And Downplay did have a much more rock orientated style as opposed to the more scientific and atmospheric sound that we are used to hearing from Starset. So quite interesting that he's decided to take it from that album, reimagine it and release it as a Starset track. However, when it was actually released on the album in 2011, it did have a much more futuristic sound compared to a lot of the other material that Downplay were releasing. And also the fact that they've enlisted the powerhouse of Benjamin Burnley and co to really help them work on this song and make it a reality. Really two bands that, although they are very different in their styles because they do have one that's very sci-fi based and one that's very rock based, they do produce their music in a lot of a similar way. They use a lot of the same ideas and effects, so really two bands that do go hand in hand, so really great to see them working together on re-releasing this song. So will this track lead to clear blue skies or just stormy weather? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds. So already with the first couple of verses, we have got a couple of changes from the original version of the track. Much more orchestral elements than the original very heavily rock-based version that we did have from Downplay. However, all the lyrics have remained the same, and we do see these typical elements we do see on most Starset tracks, really making use of scientific words such as ions in the oxygen, this idea of fire, be flammable, the idea of premonitions of the storm comes, making the use of lots of natural elements as well. It's something that the band have done pretty much throughout the entirety of their discography. And I like this idea of being able to see danger but still running into it anyways. It's this idea you've got this premonition of bad things that are coming your way, but you still just kind of go into it even though you have these feelings. And this idea of I'm done with it, I'm done running towards the eyes of the stars, I'm done heading into the eye of the storm, into the chaos. So it's this idea of really just this false hope almost, by just thinking that danger will kind of stop coming your way when it won't if you keep running towards it.
I breathe in the atmosphere. Let it wash over my fear of these heights as I transcend, become whole again. I breathe in the atmosphere. Let it take me out of here. I won't live life in the rain, waiting on the sky to change.
And I love how these orchestral elements being continued throughout the track. It really just adds that pure Starset feel. It's something they do so well in all of their music. It really helps to build an atmosphere around the track itself. And with the chorus, I love this idea of you run towards the eye of a storm and you've been carried up by it. But it's this idea of by breathing the atmosphere. If you're stressed or really struggling, sometimes the best thing to do is just breathe deeply and just kind of take yourself to a different place just by controlling your breathing. So I like they've really tied that in, using just kind of these breathing techniques to kind of wash away your fear. So we do get lots of natural elements, this idea of something being cleansed or washed away, and they use that through tying in the ideas of the rain, the sky, really tying in a lot of these simple elements that are really easy to digest and understand.
I've been frozen since that day. It's all
And we can really see here the similarities in the stylings of the vocals between Benjamin Burley and Dustin Bates. They really do have a lot of similarities in the way they present their vocals. These really long drawn, deep held notes that really they just like to play with, or both bands have certainly done that. And I like this idea of we're constantly getting this development, the idea of being frozen since that day. It's almost like a chronological event that is happening when you've watched your life effectively crumble, your blue skies turn to grey right in front of you, and disaster happens in front of you. So first of all, it's this premonition, this thing happening that you can foresee coming, then it actually happening, and really just watching your world crumble around you, and then actually trying to rise above it when you kind of just want to give up.
I breathe in the atmosphere, let it wash over my fear of these heights as I transcend, become whole again. I breathe in the atmosphere, let it take me out of here. I won't live life in the rain, waiting on the sky to change. And the waters rise up, going down from the sound of rain. And the waters rise up, I won't drown in the fire.
I love how we've got this slow build as well, just really kind of building up. This water's continuing to fall. It's almost like this rising water level around you. And again, tying in super simple ideas. The sound of rain, the water rising, the flood. It's a progressive track, and you're really seeing it build through the different elements they're bringing in throughout the track as well, which really does help to show that idea, really make it super simple. And this idea of going deaf from the sound of rain, this idea that you're being drowned out by difficulty, and this kind of everything's kind of collapsing around you, effectively rising in this case, and really just making it a bit of a struggle.
Waters rise up, going down from the sound of rain. And the waters rise up, I won't drown in the fire. I breathe in the atmosphere, let it wash over my fear of these heights as I transcend, become whole again.
I love how we've got this switch in vocals as well, from these harsher elements to this much softer part, where this kind of this reflection, this build up, this burst of aggression, and then we've almost got this calmness coming through with this idea of breathing in the atmosphere, again showing that kind of chronological development throughout the track, and this idea of not letting someone really control you, let someone kind of just effectively control you in different ways. It can almost be tied into this idea of somebody having this effect on you. This person is causing a lot of the destruction in your life, and you've got to rise above it through being lifted through the eye of the storm and then come out the other side. So lots of focus through very interesting metaphorical lyrics to really show this idea of kind of battling through difficult times.
Breathe in the atmosphere, let it take me out of here. I won't live life in the rain, waiting on the sky to change, waiting on the sky to change, waiting on the sky to change, waiting on the sky to
So that track certainly had everything I would expect to see from most Starset songs. These really big, heavy guitar riffs. We had these really big pounding drums in the background, and these orchestral elements that just really provide some really strong walls and foundations for the instruments to really build upon. It really certainly makes the song feel much bigger than it actually is, and that's what we need when we do see a lot of elements being brought in about the sky and things like that, tornadoes, really things, beings of power, big natural events. So having those orchestral elements is what really helps to build their brand and really add in these almost sci-fi effects that they do like to incorporate into most of their music. And it was really great just getting Benjamin Burley just to really contribute to that. And it is amazing when sometimes it can be hard to notice who's actually singing, because they do emulate each other's style very well, and they do certainly work very well together in tandem. And I certainly do like the way they use things such as tornadoes and rains and storms as this idea of a destructive force in your life that you've got to battle through, because it can be used to signify something that can cause a lot of damage damage. I mean, especially in places like America, when you have got flooding, storms, all these sorts of things that can cause so much damage and destruction, it makes it a very simple metaphor to really understand. And I love the use of kind of the eye of the storm and that being raised up within it to kind of show this idea of transcending above these destructive forces and getting past it and then moving on. So really great how they progress the story and they use different vocal styles to really show that effect as the song did progress. So overall, it certainly was a very interesting reimagining of the track, including a lot more Starset elements, especially the orchestral side. Not quite as heavy as the rock sound that we did have on the original, but if you haven't heard of Downplay's music before, I would highly recommend checking out the Radiocalypse album. It was the last album they did release before Dustin Bates would then go on to form Starset, and it's got some really great songs on there. And then obviously Starset have done very well continuing to build on their discography with some really strong albums. Same for Breaking Benjamin as well. They've just put out some brilliant music over recent years, so great to see the two big powerhouses combining to work together on a reimagined track. And it's certainly interesting to see just how it does compare to the original. I think it's a bit at 50-50. If you prefer that just pure rock element, the original is probably slightly stronger, but if you want that more Starset evolved sound, then this definitely does it justice as well, and just kind of getting some big heavy hitters to really help out with the production of this track. So that will be everything for today's video, but as always, please feel free to let me know your thoughts about this track in the comments section below. Maybe you've heard the original before and you preferred that, maybe you prefer this version. I would love to know what you think. And if you want to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next audio analysis.